So we're going to frame it as that. So I'm going to ask a question here.
Okay.
So the top three ideas that we've seen around the farm to implement, because a lot of people are going to get a rude wake-up call. They're going to go from 0 to 100 in a panicked fashion. So what we want to do is, with the most amount of result in the shortest amount of time, is where we want to go with this. So
Sure.
the top three, what do you think? And I'm going to add in other slides as we're going along here so you can visualize.
The CEO of Wells Fargo warns the worst is yet to come for Americans. Deutsche Bank is forecasting a major recession among similarities to the 1970s era stagflation and real wealth destruction. If the playbook follows the 1970s, gold and silver are the standout cheap asset from this starting point. Bloomberg Intelligence forecast $2,500 gold by the year's end. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo see gold hitting record highs in 2022. Former Gold Corp chairman Ian Telfer warns peak gold has been reached regarding maximum output, and for that reason raised his forecast to $2,500 an ounce. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Call 1-800-356-4470 for a free investor guide today. And with the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated IRA gold dealer from 2016 to present, click on that link in the description box below. And now on with the video.
And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the DAP 2030 channel once again. Going to try to give you some value here in about 5 minutes or under over here at POLYFACE Farms today. What do we have? Range boss. Daniel or Dan?
Daniel Salatin. Yes,
All right.
that's us. Yep, Daniel. Cool.
And I've been waiting to get up here too, because I have that farm, and any of you following the Homestead 2030 project along with the Adapt 2030 channel know we have 23 acres in Tennessee, and we're building out the orchards and trying to learn some permaculture along with the cameo here. So with things, you know, Daniel said that it's okay to talk about maybe going any object or any thought might be good to talk about. Things at the end of the year are going to come unwound with food pricing and the economy. So far we know that the Chicago Board of Exchange is not going to be able to deliver all the corn that people have pledged on contract. They already know that right now. So the markets are going to be in turmoil, food pricing is going up, and we're looking at a 35% decline in global wheat production and 35% global corn production this year because of the fertilizer shortages and herbicide shortages. Supply chains, rail capacity, barge traffic, nothing's working. So we're going to frame it as that. So I'm going to ask a question here.
Okay.
So the top three ideas that we've seen around the farm to implement, because a lot of people are going to get a rude wake-up call. They're going to go from 0 to 100 in a panicked fashion. So what we want to do is, with the most amount of result in the shortest amount of time, is where we want to go with this. So the top three, what do you think? And I'm going to add in other slides as we're going along here so you can visualize it.
So when we talked about it earlier, and I've thought about it a little longer. I think from an animal perspective, you know, if you're willing to do processing, meat birds are by far and away. It's an 8-week turnaround. You get chicks, you have meat. That's a great turnaround. However, it requires processing. A lot of people are either not set up for it, not comfortable with it. So certainly egg layers are by far and away number one. That's the easy one. You don't have to process. You get the eggs. They're good. They use your scraps. Because you know, you talk about complete shutdown, or complete turmoil. We'll just put it that way. So I mean, you know, do you have trash pickup? Is it worth picking up trash anymore? So what do you do with all your scraps? You can give them to your chickens. You don't have to worry with it, you know. You look and watch these crazy movies that we thought were nuts.
Hey, well, that's going to be a take two there. Hey, what is this?
Hey, bud.
All right, let it roll. Unexpected.
So my thing is, you know, you watch these crazy where trash is piling up and it's just a mess. Well, there are lots of things that we can do to keep that from happening, right? And a lot of those things, one of those things is to feed your scraps to the chickens. And I think that's great. The next one is rabbits. Now, rabbits are cute and cuddly, and they're usually viewed as pets. And that's a tough one to get over, but they do great They create wonderful protein. They can eat stuff that's already in your yard. And these are domesticated rabbits. I'm not talking about wild rabbits. I'm talking about getting a domesticated rabbit. They produce a finished meat product in literally 12 to 15 weeks, and you're in good shape. And they're very quiet and easy to run. So that's number two. And
now,
then
can I say something?
Yeah,
Down
sure.
there, the farmers do not like rabbits around in our area. They're really gun shy of rabbits because they get out. They've had problems there before, eating through some of the produce, and the farmers don't like rabbits. So what would you say to the neighbors that are in the farming community already that like, we don't want rabbits around here?
Sure. Well, I would say that the rabbits in this area, well, first of all, we raise our rabbits in a racking house and with the rabbit and chickens, and the rabbits are in wire, I say cages, but I don't want to use that word to create a stigma. But they are enclosed, they are in wire enclosures that are big enough for them to move around freely and be comfortable. And rabbits are always individualistic. They need to be by themselves, and so not to get lost in too many weeds, but they actually are happier when they're not in big groups and in their one-on-one. And so for me, that works very well. And so they're contained. I mean, unless someone is negligent and leaves the door open, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to dig out. And so I feel very. I mean, I've had rabbits for 25 years, and there's not any rabbit running around here wild from me. So I would be very confident to have them in these settings. And then number three, I guess, would be a small ruminant. And I say small ruminant meaning a sheep or a goat. A goat is harder to control, but goats are very accepted in urban settings. So I think that's important. Hey, Bob. The urban settings. And so when you think about what people are comfortable with, goats are very accepted, right? I mean, people have pet goats. They've got small goats. They're cute. They're enjoyable. So as long as you can get over the harvest, as long as people are okay with the harvest setting, then goats are great. And sheep as well, because sheep are very small and easy to work with. So the small ruminant sheep or goats are great. So laying hens, rabbits, small ruminant sheep or goats.
And we got to see the farm and everything up there. We talked about algae being in a pond, so I'm wondering, have you ever harvested that algae used for fertilizer? Do you know much about that? What's the turnaround? Because, say, centralized supply chains are starting to break down in every shape, fashion, and form. And by the end of the year, September contract delivery and the December contract deliveries are going to wipe out and scare the market in 2023. There's going to probably be runs on farm tools because everybody will realize they need to grow their own food by then. The fertilizer and building the soil out. People are going to dig into their clay and go, whoa, why didn't my seeds grow?
Right.
But then what can we get for wild, just, forageable fertilizers?
Sure. Well, I think number one, the average homeowner throws away mountains of carbon and fertilizer every day, and they don't even know it. I mean, we're talking about when you mow your grass and you rake up the grass and you throw that away, or you dump it over the back fence. In the fall, you rake up your leaves and you throw those away. All of your kitchen, I mean, anything that came off of a plate that you decide not to eat for whatever reason should never go anywhere but back onto your soil. Whether you build a compost pile and feed that back out, or whether you put it directly into something. I mean, again, like the Native Americans, they plant the fish with the corn. It can easily be a chicken wing or a leftover bit of rice or something that you're not able to eat. So that's a key thing. The next piece that people throw away is certainly cardboard and paper. So anything that's biodegradable like that, cardboard, paper, packaging. I mean, the average American is receiving massive amounts of Amazon boxes, right? And all of those can go and be broken down into to nutrients. And so, and everything from, again, whether you're able to continue to get packaging of all that, I'm not going to answer that. However, whether you had some left over or whether you're still getting some, those are great sources of nutrients. So I think for me, the yard clippings, the yard waste, the leaves, all of those things are a great place to start. The table scraps, and just holding on to that. Again, if you put a cardboard box out in the rain, it just starts to melt and disappear. And that's great. And it begins to have ants and nutrients, and you look up, you move it, and it's got worms under it. That's great, and that happens. So I think another source of getting nutrients is your locale, your municipal stuff. So they're harvesting, they're clearing the power lines and chipping that, and there's chips. They're harvesting leaves from people who are not watching this channel. And so harvesting that, and then if you have animals where you can leverage their manure through those carbon bases and then put that on your soil, that just multiplies the value of it. So that's what I would start when you're talking about needing nutrients and fertilizer.
Yeah, and the last thing, you know, we have a wider landscape on the food front of things, like a realistic timeline when people are going to really need to grow their own food. Like a no BS assessment of, my personal timeline is no later than the end of the year, the world's going to wake up to the plight we're in about food production, and they're going to be all moved to action at the same time out of fear versus going into it like wanting to embrace the lifestyle. That's my timeline, 6 months or less. I mean, I would put you on the spot because you said you could talk about anything, so I don't know.
The way I would answer that question is, I don't like giving timelines because I think they always change. Because a new criteria jumps in. So you think, well, on the trajectory we're on, your timeline sounds good. However, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. Everything from wars to policies to food buying. I mean, again, if everybody who was complaining about gas prices suddenly decide, you know what, I worked from home 2 years ago, I'm going to work from home now, and stop driving. If we dropped our fuel usage by 25-30%, suddenly that changes things. If a big percentage of people started buying local food, that changes things. So I think it's one of those, yes, on the trajectory we were on, your timeline might work, and it still might. I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. However, I think that the human experience is very resilient. I think we're very creative, and I think we haven't, as a culture, been asked to face and or solve massive, I'm going to say, human problems and not crises necessarily, but overarching problems, like we bonded together in some of the old style stuff, whether it's can drives for World War II or paper drives for World War II. Everybody did that because that was something that meant something right then, and like I say, the victory gardens of back then, because it mattered right then. I don't think we've been faced with those for a long time, and I think it's going to be interesting to see our culture adapt. I believe that people can step up to the plate. It's going to be a little bit of pain for people, a little bit, like I said, major wake-up call. But I think that there's teachers out there like yourself, like us. We want to help people. We want them to get through this. And I think that if people are willing to put in the work and listen, that we're not going to have it again, with great disturbance creates great opportunity and great change. Doesn't mean change is bad. It's just different. And so I have maybe a glass half full outlook on it, that farmers are resilient and they figure out a way to do it, and so we'll see. But
it's a hopeful message. See, stay positive, take control of your own destiny. That's right. Kind of the message, that if you actually go to the action for your self-sufficiency and your communities coming together, also think in the same direction.
Yes, you're
going to thrive during these times. Others might not. But again, thanks for spending your valuable time with us. Daniel Salatin, David Dubine, and
that's us.
And bye for now.
Later.